Hi guys, welcome or welcome back to my channel. Today we're doing my April wrap up. Let me bring you guys a little closer. I'm slightly late to this. I know it's only the first week of May, but I feel like I am late. It has been such a crazy month. It's been so busy, but I thought I would share with you guys the books I read in April because I read some super good books. We got a lot of 5 stars. I started this month off so freaking strong. I read like 10 books within the first half of the month, and then I don't know, life happened. I got really busy with school and everything, and it's only gonna get worse. So I haven't been as much on my reading grind. I feel like I'm a bit in a slump. I just don't have the desire to pick up a book right now. I am trying to push through the slump because I hate when I'm in this type of mood. But I thought I would show you guys the books I read in April, and there's some really good ones. I'm looking at my Goodreads, which is why I have my phone. These first few books that I read in April literally feel like an eternity ago. I don't remember reading them. The first one I have is Picking Daisies on Sundays. I love this cover. It is so cute, and I don't even remember what it was about. It's about a girl and a guy and their childhood best friends, and then they haven't seen each other in 4 years. They see each other again in a bar, and he asks her to be his wedding what? He asks her to be his date for his sister's wedding. So it's fake dating, which is one of my favorite book tropes. And I did give this book 5 stars. I read it in, I think, like 24 hours. It was so good and such a cute romance. There is a bit of miscommunication, which drives me absolutely bonkers, but I still really like the book. I remember just absolutely loving the male main character, and then the start of every chapter has like kind of like a cutie little quote, and then later in the book you see what those quotes mean and what the title means. It was just so cute. I really like this book. And then the next book I read was Before We Were Innocent. This book, I think I gave like 3 stars. Even that feels a little bit high. This one I listened to on audiobook. I mostly listened to it while I was running, which I think if I was physically reading it, I probably would have DNF'd it, which I've honestly never DNF'd a book. I probably would have actually just suffered through it, but it just got kind of boring. It's about 3 friends. They go to Greece. One of them dies. They've been cleared from having any involvement, and then it's like 10 years later, one of them needs a favor, and all the stuff from the past is being like dredged up again. Dredged? Is that a word? I don't know. If it's not, leave me alone. It seems like it would be good, but it was just kind of boring. It says it's true crime, but it read so much more like a plain literary fiction. There was not a whole lot of true crime going on at all. And then I read Thrive by Kristen Becca Ritchie. This is the 5th book, I want to say. 4th, 5th, 6th, I don't know. It's one of the books in the Addicted series. This book wasn't my favorite just because it's the exact same events as the 2 books before this one, just told in a different point of view. And it's told from Lily and Lo's point of view, which you haven't gotten their point of view in kind of a while in the series. And honestly, I kind of forgot how much I don't really like them. I feel like they just enable each other, and they are kind of frustrating in my opinion. I don't know, maybe that's an unpopular opinion, but Lily and Lo are not my favorite characters in the Addicted series. But I am excited to read the next book. I have to pick it up. I don't even know which one it is. If you ever watch my videos for reading orders, don't. I never know the order. Okay, Addicted After All. I love this series. It's about 6 friends and sisters, and it's very found family. They are all like children of nepotism basically, and you're kind of seeing their life. Then we get into all the books that I read in my Reading Sad Books for a Week video. Oh, that video literally feels like decades ago. So the first book I finished in that video was If He Had Been With Me by Laura Nowlin, and I gave this book 5 stars. I loved it. And in that video, if you've seen it, you've kind of probably heard me talk about this book a little bit. I loved how it was such a tragic ending. You know exactly what happens from the prologue, but it didn't take away from how it made you feel at all. I still felt shocked and absolutely gutted when I read that. Sometimes I get sick of reading happily ever afters, and it's nice to see something that feels a little bit more realistic and isn't so happy in the end. So I actually really enjoyed that aspect of it. These are the type of YA books that I absolutely adore. You basically see them from like elementary school to high school, and I love just watching them grow as characters. It was so cute. I'm excited to read the one that's in Finney's point of view, but I want to wait a little bit so that there's some time in between reading them because it is basically the same book, just just a different point of view. Then I read Every Last Word, and I also gave this book 5 stars. I really, really enjoyed this one. I didn't think I was gonna give it 5 stars at first once I had finished it, but I found myself continuously thinking about it and thinking about the characters, so I figured I had to give it 5 stars, because if it leaves me constantly thinking about it, it's a pretty good book. I have had this book so long sitting on my shelf, and I have been putting it off for forever. Like I said in my sad books video, it's not necessarily a sad book, it just has sad elements to it. It's about a girl who struggles with really bad OCD in high school, and she's meeting new friends and new people, and she doesn't really feel like her group of friends reflects her goals and priorities as well as maybe they used to. I feel like the high school relationships and friendships that were depicted in this book were so accurate. She kind of felt like her friends were always talking about her behind her back, and that they didn't really care about her best interests. They were kind of just friends to be friends, and I just found that part so relatable. If you're in high school, I feel like this would be a really good book to read. It kind of helps you realize that high school is just such a small part of your life. There were times in high school when I thought my life was ending, and clearly I'm okay. So I feel like this is a good book to read in high school, just to remember that high school isn't everything. You'll be okay. So love this book. And then I read Darling Venom, and I gave this book 3 stars. I honestly didn't really like it. It's a book about a girl, and she meets this guy up on the roof of a very tall building because they were both unhappy and going to end their lives, and they agree not to and to meet at the same spot every year for the next 4 years while they're in high school, and they have no other contact throughout the year. And then on the 4th year, the guy actually ends up jumping. You know that kind of from the beginning, so this is not a spoiler. And then the girl reconnects with his brother. So it's like age gap romance. I haven't read an age gap romance that I really liked yet, except for like Daisy and Reich in the Addicted series. Other than that, I haven't really found a good age gap romance yet. If you have recommendations, let me know and I'll definitely try them out. That was one of the things that I didn't love about this book. And then the other thing is they are very, very, very back and forth. At least it felt that way for me. I think this book could have been 100 pages shorter. It's 450 pages of them literally just going back and forth, trying to figure out what they want. And it was frustrating to read, and I was getting sick of it. And they were both very moody, and they don't communicate well, and it was annoying. And then I read See You Yesterday by Rachel Lynn Solomon. I love this book. It was so good. This is a time loop book, which honestly, I think I really like time loop books. I read this one, The Holidays by Christina Lauren. I like that one. And then the Lynn Painter book, what is it called? The Do-Over. I loved all those books, and they were all time loops. This one is kind of unique because she's in the time loop with someone else, so I really liked that aspect of it. Basically, she wakes up on the first day of college and she relives that day over and over and over again, which is good at first because she has the absolute worst first day ever, and then she gets stuck in this time loop for so long, and she's stuck with Miles, and oh my god, the ending, oh my it was so good. I love their romance. It was so cute and sweet and wholesome. It was absolutely adorable. It takes place in Seattle, which I think was a really fun setting for this book. I loved all the different things they did on their like repeating days. It was so easy to get through. I listened to this while I was running, and it made me want to keep running. I would get excited every morning to go on my run so I could keep listening to this book because it was so good. And then I read The Storied Life of AJ Ficker. This is in my trying to finish my TBR video. 5 stars. Loved it. This is a plain, just literary fiction, and it read so quickly. It's a short little book. I read it on my Kindle and absolutely devoured it. It's about a guy named AJ, and he's a rather grumpy older man, and he has this very rare collection of poems, and it gets stolen, and he gets left with a package, which single-handedly changes his life because he kind of learns to be a happier man. It reminded me a lot of a TJ Klune book. Not necessarily a TJ Klune book I've already read, but something TJ Klune would write. The writing was very similar, and I loved it. It was so cute and sweet and heartwarming, and I just loved that it felt like he had a second chance at life. And then I read Thank You for Listening by Julia Wayland. This is another book where I was thoroughly surprised in a good way. I went into this book kind of a little iffy on it. I don't necessarily love the cover, and I know you're not supposed to judge books by the cover, but sometimes I just can't help it. And the plot didn't sound very interesting. I haven't seen a whole lot of people read this or talk about it, so I wasn't sure. I was iffy. And when I first started it, I was like, okay, this is literally nothing special. It's just another romance. It's a romance between two audiobook narrators, and they're both very well known in their profession. The banter they have is amazing, and they were texting all the time because they live on different coasts, and I loved reading their text, and you could see their personalities through the text. It was so cute. And I love the end. I love how he was like groveling for her. I think it's so cute when a man does that in books. And then I read Sigh by Neil Shusterman. This book was so good too. I read so many good books this month. This is about our world 20 years in the future, which is a scary thought, and they have conquered death. No one dies from like diseases and that type of thing, and if you do die, you can be like rebooted basically. But there are these people who go around and they end the lives of people to keep the population under control, and there are two people training to be a scythe. It was just so good, and this is part of a trilogy, I'm pretty sure. I think there's a novella as well. I am so excited to continue this series. I'm getting really tired of talking. The next book I read was The 7-Year Slip, and I gave this book 4 stars. This is the same author as The Dead Romantics, which I've heard so many people love. I need to pick that one up and try it out, but I don't own it. So one of these days I'm gonna get it, I promise. I always see it at Target and I'm intrigued, but never enough to actually buy it. So one of these days I will. This book is about a woman, and her aunt passes away and she moves into her aunt's apartment, and it's like a magical apartment where basically at any given moment you enter the apartment, it could slip 7 years into the past. And you can't choose when you want it to slip into the past and when you don't, so that's kind of like a fun little aspect of it. It just felt a little insta-lovey, which isn't one of my favorite tropes, but I did still really enjoy it. And I liked the little bits of magical realism. I love reading about magical realism. I think it's such a fun concept, so I liked seeing that in this book. I feel like I don't read a lot of magical realism romance books, so that was like a fun new little genre to unlock. And then the next book I read was Betting on You by Lynn Painter. This book I gave 4.75 stars. I loved it. It was so cute. I am such a sucker for good YA romances. It feels like watching a YA coming of age movie, and those are some of the best movies ever made, in my opinion. It's about a girl named Bailey, I want to say. I'm so bad with remembering names. Yeah, Bailey. She moves to Omaha because her parents are getting divorced, and on the flight there she meets this guy named Charlie, and then they keep bumping into each other as the years go on. And by years, I think it's only like 2 years. It's not a long time. They're not old. They're in high school. Anyways, they keep bumping into each other, and they didn't like each other at first, and now they work together, so it's like a little work romance, co-workers, kind of fun. And they start fake dating, which, as we know, I love that trope, and it was so freaking cute. Those are the 12 books I read in April. As always, I'm gonna attempt to pick these up, and it never really goes well. I had so many 5 stars. I absolutely love these books. Let me know your guys' opinions if you've read them or if you're wanting to read them. Thank you guys so much for watching. Go ahead and like, comment, subscribe. Anything you do helps me out so much, and I really appreciate it, and I'll see you so soon in my next one. Bye.